Hi everyone, my name is Junon. I have a health science background and I'm the author of the book Truth and Empathy, How to Find Your Soulmate. And I'll put a link to my book below. This video is about whether or not arranged marriages are a good idea. For the past week, I've been watching documentaries about different cultures that advocate this type of arrangement. One was on India, the other one was on the Orthodox Jewish community. So I'll be discussing this topic from the perspective of MBTI personality types, so brain types, and energy healing, because I've been exploring this particular modality for a number of years. The first thing I did is look at the statistics when it comes to arranged marriages here in Canada, but Statistics Canada could not provide me with this information, so I went online and looked at Hotbot, which is AI, to see if I could get at least some estimates of arranged marriages worldwide. So I have some notes here on screen, so I'm just going to read it. So according to recent estimates, around 53.25% of marriages worldwide are arranged. This translates to about 26 million unions globally. It's worth noting that arranged marriages are more common in certain countries such as Bangladesh, China, India, and Pakistan. Keep in mind that the exact percentage might vary depending on the source, but 53.25% seems to be a common cited estimate. And additionally, it's interesting to see that the global divorce rate for arranged marriages is relatively low, around 6.3%. Unfortunately, I could not find more recent or exact figures for 2023, but these estimates should give you a general idea of the prevalence of arranged marriages worldwide. So if we compare arranged marriages to someone trying to find the right mate on their own, is that there are pros and cons in both methods. Arranged marriages can be successful, but it has to do with who is arranging this marriage. So in other words, these individuals have to be very perceptive. They have to really know you and the other person. And what happens is that most people don't even know themselves, let alone be able to guide somebody else. The fact that someone is your mother or your father doesn't mean that they do understand the core of who you are. What I've discovered when in terms of MBTI, which is brain types, is that the fact that someone has been raised by a particular person doesn't mean that they have been able to transmit their ethics and morals and so forth, because brain types already have to do with a person's level of spiritual evolution. So within a family, you can see that, let's say, a mother who is an intuitive may give birth to a sensor, or a sensor may give birth to an intuitive, and at different levels. So you're literally not living in the same world. And the issue also with arranged marriages is that you're not only marrying the person, you're marrying like a whole family, the whole in-laws. So there's a lot of pressure for a person to, stay in that marriage. So that's why probably the divorce rate is 6.3%. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily happily married, but there's so many strings attached to that marriage, so they cannot get away. And obviously there is the cultural aspect of, like, maybe the divorce is not viewed well. So the fact that people stay for a long period of time in a marriage doesn't even mean that it's healthy. In other words, it has to do, yes, you are happy and you are, stay together. Actually, I would say that if you stay in a marriage for a long period of time and you're unhappy, basically it means that both of you or one of you is very unhealthy, because if a person is rather perceptive and is not in a healthy environment, they're more likely to want to disengage and get a divorce than staying. Someone who still simmers in this toxicity means that they are unaware of who they are, or they don't have like a reference point as to what is healthy. The other aspect also is that most women are right brain dominant and most men are left brain dominant. A person who's right brain dominant is better at relationships because they are people oriented. A person who is left brain dominant is actually object oriented, so they're not as let's say emotionally intelligent. So what usually happens is that the person who is right brain dominant is usually the least happy because they're the more aware of issues in the relationship. Case in point is that here in Canada, about 70% of the time, it's the woman who actually files for divorce. In other words, the person who's right brain dominant. So there's an aspect of health that is rarely talked about. A right brain dominant woman who's married to a left brain dominant man, which is usually the case, and she's unhappily married, means that she's in a state of chronic stress. If she gets pregnant, it means that the child is developing in a womb that is basically flooded with stress hormones. So in other words, it has an impact on the child, the baby, because of the fact that the woman is unhappily married. Now, I often hear that people in arranged marriages marry and then love grows over time. I would argue otherwise, in the sense that your body, your nervous system knows if you are with the right person. It doesn't take weeks or months. Actually, if you put two individuals next to each other, their physiology will start synchronizing in terms of their blood pressure, heart rate, resting breathing, and so forth. So in other words, you can tell within minutes if two individuals are meant to be together. And if, let's say, a person exposes themselves to another individual that is incompatible on a neurological level, is that their health will deteriorate. If you take two individuals and they are physiologically incompatible and they sleep in the same bed over the years, which is the case if you get married, the healthy one will become sick over the years. For example, they might have nightmares, GI issues, high blood pressure. They might end up with like heart disease. I mean, it is something that should be taken seriously. So you cannot just match just anyone because they happen to be in the same, let's say, village, or both the families actually get along. It has to really be something specific. And the other aspect also is that even if, let's say, two individuals have the same brain type, is that you may not be physically attracted to this person, and you can't make yourself like someone if they're really not your type. I think that arranged marriages can work, but the person who's arranging this marriage really has to be perceptive and understand brain type, energy, preferences in terms of, let's say, even IQ, physical appearance. Things are short have to be taken into consideration before deciding that two individuals should be together for the rest of their lives. Because again, if something is short term, it's one thing, but if you have to deal with this person with all the challenges that come with life, whether there's disease, you could be, you could be injured, you could have, financial issues. It's so difficult that really to be happily married, you have to be with the right person. And it's better to be alone than to be in a marriage where you are miserable. And also it has a ripple effect on all society when people are not properly matched. When it comes to, let's say, someone deciding to find their own mates, is that I think that we all know that basically the person wants someone that they are passionate about. And I think that's really important. You really have to, be totally invested in that mate for it to work. And it has to be a two-way street. And what happens is that most people do not see themselves objectively. I've been doing personality type assessments for many years. And I'm telling you, most people will not admit to their weaknesses and don't see themselves, as they are. So at least 80% of people think they are intuitives, which is not the case. They think that they are organized and they are reliable, which is not the case. And they think that they are introverts when they are extroverts. So in other words, it's very rare that a person will tell the truth about who they are. So they need another person to actually see them and guide them. And the other challenge is that in the Western world, at any given point, about 80% of adults suffer from a mental illness. So they don't have enough energy for themselves, let alone somebody else. So they're not really ready to, be in any type of close long-term relationship and really invest themselves in terms of, having to deal with, raising children and having to deal with work, and maybe they're going to school. I mean, there's so many aspects when it comes to a relationship, and they simply don't have the emotional resources to actually make it work. And I would also encourage people, just like with arranged marriages, to delay sexual contact, because obviously there's risk of unplanned pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases, but also it makes the person unable to see their potential mate objectively. So I believe there's both strength in both approaches. So arranged marriages helps you, in terms of the practical aspect of life and be able to see the person objectively, but also you need to be passionate about your mate, because life is so difficult that if you're not truly heart and soul, invested in that relationship, and it's mutual, you probably will not be happily married. And staying married just because you're afraid of being alone or of pressure from family cannot be good for either party. So let me know what you think about the content of this video by commenting below. If you like this video, if you learned something, please click on the like button. Also remember to click on the notification bell to be notified of other videos I'm going to be making. Subscribe to my channel, and we will talk soon.